Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to our Facebook Live. And this Facebook Live is part of our Path of a Magdalena program. So we welcome you all here today to the Facebook Live and also to our program. So for those who may not be aware, this year's path, it's a year-long gifted program. And each month we'll be sending out some of our favorite videos with people talking about their embodiment of specific qualities of Mary Magdalena, their embodiment and also path to embodiment of these qualities. So every month on the first Sunday, you'll get the video. And then on the second Monday of every month, we will have this Facebook Live where we have Magdalena practitioners from around the world discussing this quality in their lives. And then throughout the month, there'll be different opportunities to engage with the community with this specific quality and really just deepen and cultivate this quality in you. So if you haven't signed up for this gifted program yet, you can go to magdalenahealing.com, and we can also include a link in the comments too. So Facebook Live, we have a treat for you today. Oh my gosh. So I have a fantastic panel here today to discuss the quality of discipline. So first, I'd like to introduce the panel of Magdalena practitioners, and then we can dive right into discipline. So I have Lisa Guinan here with us from Ireland. We have Marie Bunot from Vancouver, British Columbia in Canada. And then Cedric Dufour from France. And I am joining you here today from right outside of Washington, D.C. in the United States. So yes, that means we have 4 countries and 2 continents here with you today. So I also want to invite you to participate through the chat. You know, if anything comes to mind for you from for discipline, or I'll ask specific questions throughout, please just type them in the chat. We really want this to be an interactive event. And if you have questions for the panelists, please feel free to include them there as well. So my first question, or, you know, kind of how I like to start this conversation is, what does discipline mean to you? I know throughout the world, especially in the United States, discipline has different connotations. So I would love to hear what it is for you.
Maybe I can start. For me, the connotation of discipline has evolved in time. I've been grown in a very strict family, in a Catholic school, so everything needed to be right, exactly, do this, do that, like this, like that. And I hated discipline. Until I started the program to become a Magdalena. And there were very much discipline there. And I was completely in reaction at the beginning, because I saw that the discipline coming from outside. But I started to practice though, and to do what they asked for. And suddenly I realized that I didn't did it because people asked it to me, but because it was really changing my life. And the fact that I was disciplined, the fact that I was doing the exercises, practicing every day, really made a shift in the way I experienced lots of things inside of me, around me, in my work, in my family. And really discipline for me is actually building the habits to help me to sustain the level of life, the level of quality, the level of what you want, that I want to have.
Yeah, and you know, Cedric, I was thinking, you know, really especially the last few days about discipline and how, you know, I would have seen at school, you know, I would have had a lot of discipline in school also. And I was just really thinking about that. And, you know, a lot of that discipline then, you know, would come from, like, to me, it's more like a control. It comes from a place of fear. It was that if I did something, if I got up in the classroom and walked out, I would get in trouble. I was in fear of getting in trouble. So it was like a control. And, it was that fear that keeps me controlled, really is what it was, because I have a fear of a consequence that's going to happen. But the discipline, on this path that we're on now, which to me is more of a mastery, because it's the discipline, it's something that I want to do. It's something that I really want. But parts of me get in the way of that happening. Maybe my mind, maybe an impulse gets in the way and I can't quite do what I really want to do. But it's not coming from a place of fear. It's something, a desire, something in me that I really want. And it's mastering my habits, my patterns, my impulses, so that I can be what I want or do what I want to do. And I've really been thinking that really doesn't come from a place of fear. It comes from a place of motivation. So, I would see, for me, that would be the big difference now in the way I would see discipline.
Mm. I like the word mastery that you use, and I could speak also about empowerment. When I started to work in companies as employee, at that time I couldn't do anything if my boss hadn't agreed it before, and I couldn't take any initiative because I didn't dare. Today I am self-employed. If I want something to happen, I need to take action, and I need to have the discipline to have my marketing done and everything. Otherwise, the business crashes. But the difference is that now I am empowered. I know what I want to do. I can do it, and I give me the possibility to do it through that mastering of discipline.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
Ria,
Marie,
you're muted.
Thank you. I will just add to what you already said, because for me, it's almost the same experience of coming from a disciplinary society where I was schooled for any mistakes. So discipline would be very a harsh word. And I had to learn what is discipline along the way. And for me, the direction that it took was to go deeper into something, is to go deeper into that well of fresh water that I'm looking for, that I'm there is a desire, a deep desire to live the life that I want, to be in the state that I want to be. And discipline now brings that to me. And I've never seen myself as a very disciplined person. I don't think of myself like a disciplined person, but in preparation of this meeting today, I ask questions around me, and I'm very surprised that people see me as a disciplined person when I don't see myself like that. But for sure, I have phases in my life where I was very disciplined, and I have the experience of the support that it provided to me and the growth that it provided to me. So yeah, it's a very powerful tool, I would say, when we use it.
yes, Marie, I've had that experience, especially with this quality of discipline, where I will ask someone about it and they'll say, oh, I'm not, like, that's not me. I'm not disciplined. And I see the person actually as disciplined, or at least not disciplined. So one thing that I think is really interesting is discipline is something, and this is something that Sridevi Mom mentioned, is discipline is something that is cultivated. It's not something that everyone has it. So it's not as if it's black and white. It's a scale. And so I wanted to share that discipline for me also started out very similar to how to what others shared. I do work in prisons in the United States, and there's something called disciplinary segregation. And so when you do something wrong or violate a rule in prison, you are sent to disciplinary segregation. So it's a punishment. And I think about this in our whole justice system. I will leave that full conversation for another Facebook Live because I have lots to say about that. But so much of it is built on discipline, but it's really this punishment aspect of discipline rather than the discipline that we've been learning about and cultivating. And for me, discipline is giving myself a command and following it. And why the interesting piece for me is it has to be tied to an outcome that I really want. Like I could say, I'm going to like mow the lawn or do some gardening. That sounds really nice to me, but I'm not really interested in that. There has to be a tie to an outcome for me. And that's where like the power or the drive comes from. Because sometimes in discipline, I am doing things that like aren't really the first choice every time. But I think about where I'm going, or I think about that thing that I really want, or that person I really want to be. And so that gives me that's the link for me in discipline is saying I'm going to do something, doing it because there's a bigger picture for me.
So agree with you about that, Cara. You know, I was thinking just recently where all of us here are on the Advanced Magdalena program, and part of the program we do this Sadhana. It's a Qigong practice. It's only like 9 minutes every morning. And, you know, the first 2 weeks of the program, I didn't do it at all. And then I was going like, oh, I got to get on board here, you know, and I could hear all the conversations. It's like, oh, I should be doing it. And, you know, I wasn't on board with it because I went up and I was doing the movement and my mind was like, oh, I don't want to be doing this. This is boring. And my body was like, you know, not engaged. And I was going, oh, I've got to do something here. So I sat down and I was saying, okay, what is this? Why am I doing this? Like, what is it going to give me? Like what you're saying, Cara, it was like the result. What am I going to get from this? And once I started tuning into what it is, and, you know, it's building up that connection between source and earth and becoming stabilized and becoming more coherent in my energy field so that I can think better, I feel better. And straight away, my mind was on board. It wanted the clarity, the focus. My, you know, emotions and desires were wanting the thing of feeling good and being clear in my energy. And straight away, everything changed. I was like, yes, I want this. And it was so easy. And it's that thing again that I don't feel when I'm doing that every morning that I am being disciplined, because I just so love doing it. I can feel all the benefits and I want to do it. So I don't even think of it as a discipline. I think of it more as an order or a habit that is really serving me. So yeah, it's interesting that how important the motivation is, or it just doesn't happen. It doesn't happen for me if I don't get those parts of me on board.
Yeah, I think it is very important to be connected to the outcome that we are looking for, because in times when the habit of doing something that serves, anyway, for me, that serves me is not established in my life, there is a part where I need to make an effort to get there. And if I am completely connected to the outcome and what it brings to me, then I can go through that difficult section, which I call the effort that I have to make to get there, because the drive will come from the outcome, from the future that I can see for myself. Otherwise, this is where I can abandon. I can just, well, I'm not interested enough to have that drive. So yeah, this is an interesting part also to cultivate discipline. I know I have to go through something that will require some effort from my, some will to activate to be able to get there.
I have this quote that I put next to my bedstand. So it's one of the first things I see in the morning. And it says, you will create your life by default or by design. And Marie, that really for me relates to what you were sharing in terms of creating new habits or creating a different way. Life is going to happen. Like I am creating my life. But with the discipline, I feel like it gives me the choice to create the design rather than the default, because the default for me is like the patterns or the habits or the paradigms that I've been living in. But then it's like, and this is what I heard Sri Devi saying too about discipline as a path to freedom. It's like with that choice and then the discipline, it leads to just freedom and the life of our choice.
It's
So
such
yeah,
a great
just
term.
default and design, you know, it's happening. So what's my choice in it?
Yeah, I love the way Sri Devi Ma turned that around on its head, from discipline to freedom.
Yeah.
I mean, it's that thing again, isn't it? It's all about perception, how we look at things, and you know, it's like what you were saying as well, Cedric, of it's in that empowerment place to create what we want to create.
Helping us to keep the focus also. I mean, it goes together. It is because I have my focus that I can decide to have discipline. And it is because I have discipline that I really can keep the focus.
Mm.
It's an exchange, actually.
Yeah, that's so true when you say it. Yeah.
Oh, I want to ask anyone on the Facebook Live to you put any tips, like what do you know, what do you think discipline is, or a description? What's your definition of discipline? Like what's evolving for you? You can write anything you want in the chat, actually. I just really want to see some things in the chat. Anything from our conversation that you're, you know, relating to, or any questions that are arising, for sure. So one thing is, for this quality of discipline, we think of Mary Magdalena. I mean, you know, so I would love to just talk about for a few minutes, because we're almost done. How did Mary Magdalena embody this discipline? For me, she's just like an example of who I want to be in this and so many other things. So I'm wondering how, you know, what have you learned about this quality with Mary Magdalena, and what was possible for her because of this quality? Yeah.
What I learned is that she was really focused on everything that the Christ said, asked, really focused. I want to serve, I want to serve, I want to be at my best to serve every day. And this is really what disciplines brings. We cannot be good healers, we cannot be even good parents if we first don't care for ourselves, if we first don't care for our health and for everything to be fully available to share.
Yeah, you know, I do think, because part of being, you know, having discipline is that, you know, we discipline ourselves not to run every time we're triggered. You know, that's part of the discipline, that I'm not reacting to everything all the time, but I have the discipline to come out of that and to shift what I'm doing. And, you know, I think of Mary Magdalena and, you know, the life that she led and everything that happened with her family, and being a woman with the disciples, and then the whole thing that happened with the crucifixion. And there's so many big triggers there, and yet she had the discipline not to go into any of those situations, but to stay focused in what she was doing here and her purpose, and to carry through with it right through to the very end when it was so intense with Jesus being crucified. I mean, how more intense are you going to get than that? And yet she held it. She had the discipline to hold the plan and not to falter and not to waver. So she's such an amazing example.
I want to add, so the chat is now blowing up, everybody. So thank you all so much. So I just want to share some comments from the chat. Sylvie shared mastery to freedom in terms of this aspect of discipline. And we have a couple comments here. I love what you said, Kara, about life happening anyway and creating by design. Discipline is following through with your goals. And then I have a few comments from Julie. You seem so clever. I'm not so clear that I have to have an intention every day. So I think life happens to me. So here is something for me to learn or improve on. This is my favorite question. This is my favorite. Can discipline be fun? You look so serious. So Julie, I don't know if you're talking to me or everybody. But that's a great question, because I don't think Mary Magdalena was super serious in every moment, you know, especially around discipline. I do tend to think of discipline as more of a serious quality, but I don't think it has to be. I think that's a great inquiry, is something for us to, you know, think about as we move through this month.
Yeah, it's a great question. Great thing
Yeah.
to ponder. Yeah.
So there, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I mean, I approach discipline as a very serious thing, you know, like, because otherwise I will never attain the goals that I have, or I will never have the life that I want, etc., etc. But I learn with the, and I'm still serious about it. But anyway, I've learned also that there is a kind of adaptation that we need. Sometimes the habits or the discipline I am implementing for myself is not appropriate or for that day or that situation or these circumstances. And I really have to have the discernment about it. And I think it's where in those situations, this is where I have to distinguish. It's not a habit for a habit, it's something for a purpose, and the purpose can be served or not with that habit today or in that circumstances. And this is where I need not to be so serious about it. So I'm learning, I'm learning through practicing. But yes, sorry, I've been doing it with a lot of seriousness, but I'm learning also to get out of this seriousness and just, okay, is this aligned or not, and really feel if it is aligned or not, and it brings lightness. Mm-hmm. I don't know, I don't have fun yet, but at least lightness.
Mm-hmm. I fully agree with what you said, Mary, and indeed I experienced the same as you, but also when you have had that discipline for a long time, when you really know your stuff, you know the tools, you know what you can get from them, then it's also the place to start to play with them. What if I try this? What if I do it this way? Changing room, changing position, doing them in another order, and the effects will be others also, and then starting to compare, and it is becoming some more fun.
And
And
exploration.
Go ahead, Lisa. I'm sorry.
No,
please.
Finished. I said an exploration.
Yes. And I saw Gail wrote in the chat, I imagine freedom is uplifting. So I think Gail is also talking about the results that we see from the discipline piece. But I think that's such a great inquiry for an exploration for us this month. I wish we had so much more time to talk about this. I see comments in the chat. So I I love it. And I also want to highlight, Marielle, I see your comment. Interesting to hear you talk about discipline. For a long time, this was something related to my childhood and upbringing, being forced to do things. This was a very heavy one. I'm starting to realize that discipline can really lead us to inner transformation and can enjoy being disciplined, and that is essential too.
Yes, definitely.
Yes.
Very
So
good.
I think that's a great place to end for today. What I think we'll do is throughout the month, we'll include some posts on Facebook, social media about, tips for discipline or what we're learning, so we can share in this learning together, because it's a scale, right? That's what we were talking about before. So how do we dive deeper? So more to be continued. Thank you all so much for joining us today, morning, evening, afternoon, whenever you're watching. Thank you all so much, and we will see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.